On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks added a bunch of players this offseason, but I believe Quentin Grimes will be the most impactful new player the Dallas Mavericks add. We're talking about a bunch of different predictions on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Rusty.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Amazing.
Your team every day.
Still can't even help it.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show, making Locked On Mavs your first listen today with the best way you can help us grow the show. Listen every day on any podcast platform. Leave a 5-star review, like the video on YouTube, comment anything below on YouTube, and watch us on KFAA, your home of the Dallas Mavericks. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use that code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And joining me, co-host, media member, long-time standing member, the four-person phenom, the one more thinking. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Oh, we're rolling deep today. Fantastic Four? Are y'all Fantastic Four fans?
I'm aware of it.
No. Somebody's got to do that thing for the Fantastic Four movie where it's like, we should call it the Fantastic Four.
No,
I'm a Jessica Alba
fantastic. Say that again.
From the great Slightly Biased YouTube channel, it's Slightly Biased, and from DLLS, that's right, he made the change. What's you got for me, Tim Cato?
I think you said 3 L's in there.
DLLS?
I'm pretty sure I heard DLLS.
I thought you said Dillas.
You're not going to ask how I'm doing?
Dills.
He just glossed over you slightly.
I said,
What's going on here?
So Slightly's on YouTube and from DLL.
Everybody knows what's going on.
There's a new blonde on the show.
if you don't know what's going on with Slightly, you're missing out. Today's episode, we're going to get into a bunch of predictions. We'll do some NBA predictions a little bit later. A couple of players. We'll talk about the Spurs a little bit later and Victor Wembanyama. We've got some people high and some people low on them. So we'll do that. We'll talk about the Mavs and do some Mavs predictions. But let's start here, guys. My first prediction that I want to give has something to do with today's news. We learned that Quentin Grimes is not going to get an extension today. Mark Stein reported, was reporting.
Where does he work?
From DLLS. He reported that there was talks between the two sides that Quentin Grimes and the Mavericks could come up with some kind of deal, but they didn't end up bridging the gap. My prediction about Quentin Grimes, though, is that he will be the most impactful new player on the Dallas Mavericks. That includes Spencer Dinwiddie, Najee Marshall, and Klay Thompson.
And Jay-Z and Gortman.
And Jazz Gortman. And Kessler Edwards.
2 peppers out of 5.
So Tim, what's your thoughts on your coworkers reporting on this?
Well, we did just record a video that's already on YouTube. That's break-in, some instant reactions to the news. Here's what I think is a positive for Quentin Grimes. It's that this is a player who we looked at Detroit and we were like, why did you just give this guy up? Like this was a salary dump trade, and you're just like, here's a super useful, like with potential, like just a role player who's going to fit right into your rotation. And some of the buzz I heard during the summer was that Detroit did have some concerns about his knee and his injury history, and his knee really kept him out a lot of, last season. He had kind of a dead of a season. He was healthy for bits of it in New York and was falling out of the rotation. If you're a guy who thinks you've got a knee injury that's going to be recurring, that's going to come back up, you're probably just taking that money, right? So I do think that it's a sign of optimism. There's some good feelings in his camp for the people around him that he's healthy and he's going to ball out this season. Every player is confident in themselves, of course. We know this, but like being confident in who you are and what you can do on the court, to me, is different than being confident of like, we've got a ticking time bomb of, some injury that could flare back up. So I think this is a good sign, just that his camp believes that he is fully available and capable of, having the best season of his NBA career and going and getting that money that he thinks he deserves.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm interested to hear what he was offered, because Quentin Grimes to me is the type of player you take to restricted free agency through and through. Like unless he was willing to take like a super discounted deal or something like that, there's literally nothing wrong with taking Quentin Grimes restricted free agency, honestly. So
that's the thing is that there's not going to be that much money in free agency this summer. And so
Yeah.
for both sides of this, you look at it and say, okay, if Quentin Grimes is really concerned about his knee, like Tim said, then maybe he takes the money. But the Mavs also probably know that. So they probably didn't offer him like the money that he really wants. And so he's going to bet on himself the same way that Derrick Jones Jr. did, the same way that Jalen Brunson did, the same way that a bunch of these guys have done for the Mavericks. And you play really well in a season next to Luka, and then all of a sudden you're looking way better than you did the season before. But Isaac, do you agree with me that Quentin Grimes is going to be the most impactful player of all the new ones, including Klay?
No, I don't at all. I think it's. I still think it's Klay Thompson.
I knew he didn't.
I'm going 5 peppers. This one's hot to be.
Yeah, we're doing a rank. We'll do a ranking system out of 5, 1 to 5, 0 to 5 peppers, and so slightly, you're giving this a 5.
I think that'd be bad news for the Mavs. I'm just saying that.
I think it's more what Slightly's saying. I think if Quentin Grimes is the most impactful new Mav, then some things have went wrong. Because I think he should be like 3rd on this list, behind Klay and Najee for sure. But especially Klay. I mean, you're asking Klay. Now, you're not, once again, I will continue saying this forever. You're not paying Klay for pre-injury Klay. You're not paying him $30 or $40 million. You're paying Klay $15.8 million to come in and play off of Luka and Kyrie, and you're paying post-injury Klay. And that's why it's that amount of money and not a $30 or $40 million contract this year. So, but still, like Klay's going to start. Klay's going to have opportunities to close games and different stuff. So, yeah, I still think Klay's going to be the most impactful.
What if Grimes is closing more games though? Like, what if Klay is awesome, but it just makes more sense for Quentin Grimes to be out here
over Najee,
being a two-way player?
Yes, he just started a preseason game over him.
Quentin
Are we
Grimes
really
skills
talking about who
better.
starts and plays?
I think Najee's better with one of Luka or Kyrie on the court, because then he can use a lot more of his playmaking stuff, of all that stuff he's got in his bag, as the children say. I just think that's a cleaner fit.
Cato, your next prediction was that Klay Thompson will start every game he's available for this season. We feeling any spice on that? I think that's probably a 1 for me.
Yeah, it's not that spicy. I wouldn't even call it spicy. This is a mild take, but it is something we've talked a lot about, right? So yeah, I just think that maybe at one point the conversation will at least be had. The amount of podcasts that we as a collective do, there's only so much to talk about. But yeah, I just don't think it's ever going to get to a point where the team ever considers bringing him out of the starting lineup. I think it's going to work well enough, even if it doesn't work perfectly.
Yeah, I would give that a 1 as well. I think that's probably true.
I feel like this coming.
No,
I didn't know they were supposed to be spicy.
I feel like this was spicier for Nick like a month or so ago. I feel like he's came around on the Klay's going to start majority of the games that he's available.
Yeah,
I agree. I think this went into like the recruitment stuff too. I mean, when he's talking to us at Media Day, and he was saying about how like the whole like next chapter rejuvenate his career, like this was part of like the the pitch from the front office and Kyrie and them, like this kind of plays into it. Like I don't think they're sitting there saying, hey Klay, come be like the 6th or 7th man and you might occasionally start here and there. I think part of the pitch was like, hey, come, you're going to start here, you're freaking Klay Thompson. And so yeah, I agree with Tim. I think he's going to start whenever he's available. Yeah,
it was spicy to me right when it happened, but then once you start hearing more about the meeting, what was promised to Klay, like the role that Kid expects, that he expects him to play 30 minutes, all that kind of stuff, you go, oh, okay, they really expect him to fill this role. And if he doesn't start, then I think something has happened, and Jason Kidd has gone back on something he said before, and I don't think that's going to happen. One I want to do quick here is that all 4 of us believe Luka is going to win MVP. There's zero spice? There's zero spice to that one, but we're all confident it's going to happen?
I mean, he's betting favorite for the 4th year in a row.
Again.
So
he was last year.
That I think though, from what I can gather from national media podcasts and stuff I listen to, almost unanimously people agree that if the Mavs win enough games, that it's Luka's time. So that's just the way it's going to be, I think.
Don't mess up, Mavs.
Yeah, don't mess up. Well, because I mean, the narrative was always like winning, and then this is usually how the MVP works. Is it's like almost a year prior award where it's like you maybe should have got it a year ago. You were good again this year. Now it's your time.
I think SGA's is his biggest, and I don't want to say only, but I think it's a 2-horse race. I think for the foreseeable future.
I'd be kind of shocked if it's anybody other than those two.
Yeah. I mean, Jokic would have to do something insane to win another one. No way Embiid plays enough time. I mean, if the Thunder win 60+ games, then that'll be a tough one.
Grant Williams,
the Hornets are the 4 seed.
Grant Williams gets traded to the Thunder, and then they...
Yeah.
All right, coming up, let's talk about Jaden Hardy. He also got an extension today. We've got a prediction about a player that could affect Jaden Hardy's playing time, and we'll talk about that and do more of our predictions coming up.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of props and odds, things that you can use to get in on the action. Go check out FanDuel and see what is available for you. We've been talking about Luka, the betting favorite to win MVP. You can go check that out, and while you're there, put down $5. If it's your first $5, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. So you can start off the season with a big return on America's #1 sportsbook. Luka, still the betting favorite for MVP. There's a bunch of other awards as well that you can go check out for the NBA. Lots of other NBA futures, but then they also have games as well. You've got the Mavs versus the Spurs. Mavs 7.5 point favorite. It's moving again. It was 8.5, and then it was 8 yesterday, and now it's 7.5. So go check it out and see what's available for you at FanDuel.com. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. Appreciate each and every one of you for checking out the show. Go listen to our show yesterday. Tomorrow, we'll do more on predictions. We will also have a post-game show every day. I think Slightly and Isaac and I will both be on, all three be on that post-game show. The three-man weave. You got to love the three-man weave for a post-game. Today, we're doing predictions. All right, a prediction from our own Isaac Harris, and this has to do with Jaden Hardy here in a way. Spencer Dinwiddie won't finish the season on the Mavs.
Oh,
how spicy is that? That's pretty spicy to me. That's a 3 or a 4.
I would throw a 3
5.
on there. 5?
2.5.
Oh,
right in the middle. Isaac, why don't you think Dinwiddie will finish the season on the Mavs?
No, I mean it won. I mean, look at the contract. I mean, the contract is super cheap. I wouldn't say anything in the preseason encouraged me with everything. And I did a lot of like carrying the water too, of like, hey, don't judge him by the Lakers stint. He played a different role, and which is still true. It's just it didn't seem as smooth for him in the preseason, but it's just the preseason. Let's give it some time. It just wouldn't shock me, right? Like it wouldn't shock me if when Exum comes back, Exum is playing that role. It wouldn't shock me if after a solid preseason that Jaden Hardy gets more minutes. Shout out to Jaden Hardy getting his extension today. It wouldn't shock me. I mean, I'm high on Jason and Gortman, so I want him to get a shot. It possibly we'll see. He probably won't on a really good team like this, but I just think that there's a scenario in which some other guys are playing above him. Maybe he's getting some DNP CDs. Maybe it's a buyout type thing, which you don't really buy out like minimum contract, but or it's a mutual understanding. Like it just wouldn't shock me if it's first week of February or mid-January, and it's like the Mavericks and Dinwiddie have, come to a mutual decision to part ways and they're waiving him. Like it wouldn't shock me. But it also, if you told me that he's getting buckets off the bench in a, scoring guard role, I wouldn't be shocked either. I was just going out on a limb here.
I think, now that you've mentioned it, this has been one of the most aggressive trade deadline teams. Maybe the most aggressive trade deadline teams when you really sit down and look at it in Luka's career. So maybe outside of Luka and Kyrie, I have Lively probably is in that mix now too. But outside of those three, I mean, I don't think it's like a full 5 in the spicy scale to say anyone might not finish the season on the team.
You know which current free agent I would rather, I think would fit Dallas better than Spencer Dinwiddie? And you guys are going to be thinking Dennis Smith, and
Markelle
maybe that's
the PJ Tucker sweepstakes.
No, it's Fultz. I think Fultz is very Exum-like. same inability to hit threes, but just a constant motion driving connector type offensive player.
Yeah.
Obviously Dennis Smith would be a better defender, but if the team were to really like seriously look at this Exum injury and, after a couple of weeks if Fultz is still a free agent and they just,
I don't understand why he's a free agent.
I know that's a little
There's a bunch of players, but yeah, Exum, it's not Exum, Fultz and Smith, Dennis Smith are definitely like, to me, just no comprehension for either player why they're still free agents.
Yeah.
That's kind of how Dennis Smith Jr.'s career has been, though. Like, he's just kind of bounced around and been a minimum guy. Like, I don't know. The league just doesn't feel that high on him. But Fultz one is really confusing to me because he is this floor general-esque point guard, which they're not. I've always said young teams should go after guys like that. Like, always. Like, young rebuilding teams should always have a guy like that on their roster to help them with their young guys, try to just have a stabilizing force on the court. So, I don't know. I never thought the Dinwiddie signing was anything major for the Mavs.
You haven't. No, you were on that early. The Wizards are like, we don't want that stabilizing force. Like we're good to, we're good to know. I think this Dinwiddie prediction though has to do with Jaden Hardy, because if Dinwiddie doesn't finish the season finish the season with the Mavs, then I think Jaden Hardy's role gets upped a little bit. Or maybe it is like Exum, you said. Hardy did get an extension today, 3 years, $18 million for him, a team option in the third year, according to Tim McMahon. And again, these are reports from ESPN. But 3 years, $18 million. That's not a lot. Slightly, like that's not a very big extension.
No, that's a good deal. I mean, I like it for the Mavericks. I'm not really sure why Hardy signed this. I mean, am I the only one a little confused by it?
I mean, if he kind of floats around again in the rotation and then hits restricted free agency and Dallas isn't interested, is he going to do more than that? I think the only way he does more than that is if he can guarantee he's a full-on rotation player, or he can guarantee that he's on another team, where he really gets more looks. But honestly, I think this deal makes him a lot more tradable, because a team that's looking for him at the deadline, let's say Exum's back and Hardy has fallen back out, and I know he's been unhappy with his minutes and his situation at times before in Dallas. And all of a sudden he's like, maybe it is the best thing that I go somewhere else. A team trying to trade for him when he's, they're trying to trade for him hoping that he pops. Yeah. But before this extension, he was going to pop and then immediately go into restricted free agency, and they're going to have to pay him for that pop. I think this makes him a lot more tradable, and in a weird way, it's almost more player friendly.
Yeah. No, you go slightly.
No, you go. Okay, no, I'll go. I was seeing everyone on Twitter was just like like this means Hardy's going to do this and this year. I mean, these type of contracts, you got to look at it now at the CBA. The Mavs probably thought, well, I mean, this turns into a very tradable contract if we wanted to trade him at the deadline. So that was kind of my thoughts about it as well. I didn't think it necessarily meant X, Y, or Z for him in the rotation this year.
I agree.
Yeah, I thought it was super team friendly. It's kind of like, hey, why not? Like, if he's willing to take it, then sure, you can throw it in a deal later on. I think it's a little telling with how the league kind of views him right now, that his agency is like, hey, take this.
With a team option in the third year.
Yeah, and so it's kind of like
small guards who score and don't play defense is like the most common type of player archetype there is in the league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's kind of a no-brainer to do it for Dallas for that cheap. Will he be on the roster past February? I don't know. I mean, for a lot of people, like Slightly said,
for him to pop, he would have to turn into an Anthony Simons. Even like Jordan Poole, when he popped, he then unpopped, like in Washington. Or a Tyrese Maxey popped in a huge way, but in a way that I don't know that Jaden Hardy can get to now. He'd have to be a guy like that, or he's an Alec Burks, or somebody like that. There is a bunch of guys like that in the NBA, but the deal did kind of surprise me. Looking at 3 years, $18 million, does make him available in some trades. You just need a couple million extra to throw in a trade. The team option is a sweetener for a team that, hey, if we need to clear out money in a couple years, you put Jaden Hardy's part of that trade, and then all of a sudden that team option looks a lot more appealing in that way. I've one more quick prediction here. Slightly thinks the Mavs will be the best offense in the NBA. Anybody disagree with that?
Disagree?
No. I mean, it's really hard to disagree with that. I think there's a chance that very easily just could be Boston again, although I'm a little bit lower on them breaking or like setting that record or having that in the regular season without Porzingis, who just, for 40 games or something, that spacing adds so much to their ability to score. Who else was really high last season? I mean, the Pacers are up there.
Boston, the Thunder.
Yeah.
Nerlens Noah.
Yeah. The Thunder could be up there. The Pacers could be up there. But yeah, no, that's like a 1.5 out of 5 spiciness. I think it's very likely.
Yeah, thank you. I just figured the Luka pick and roll threat. And now you add Klay to the mix. Just the floor spacing, the shooting in that pick and roll is just.
Is there time, Nick, to toss out my 3-pointers one?
Oh yeah, we will do that one for sure.
Nick's like, let me take an ad break, Tim.
That's what we do around here.
It is like.
Do you guys take ad breaks on DLLS?
Have you watched a show?
Yeah, crap, you go on for an
You're
hour.
Not scouting the competition.
Hey,
yeah, we do one at 15, 30, and 45.
I think people have complained to us about your ad breaks.
People have complained to us about y'all's ad breaks.
Hey,
I think
we're doing less than you. 3 hours of just rambling, no breaks.
Just a man and a microphone, the way the Lord intended.
Yep.
The way it was intended when the internet first started.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, when the first chat room was born. Oh my god. All right, coming up.
Chat roulette.
The Mavs will break the league record for 3-pointers made, and Victor Wembanyama will not win Defensive Player of the Year. Talk about all that and more coming up.
You don't believe you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by BetterHelp. BetterHelp. Everyone has things in their life you need to talk about. I do. Tim does. Slightly does. Isaac does. We all have things that we need to talk to a therapist about. We have things that you just need to work through. You need somebody that's unbiased that can sit with you and work through some of your fears. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire and get matched with a licensed therapist. Switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. I love that when I use BetterHelp because I matched with somebody at first and I didn't really vibe with them. And then I got a second person and I like them a lot better. Overcome your fears with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedon. NBA, get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon NBA. All right, Tim, Isaac, slightly.
I love how you talk about BetterHelp like it's a dating app. I got matched with somebody, didn't like them. So then I got matched with another person and liked them better.
I wasn't really feeling it.
Swipe right on your therapist.
With BetterHelp. Tim, we're doing NBA, we're doing predictions. Tim, you sent me one. Dallas breaks the league record for threes made and attempted. So the league record for like any team ever? Or you first said this to me, I thought you just meant the Mavs like franchise record. You mean the league record?
Yes. Why wouldn't I mean that? Yeah, screw it. Why not?
I love this.
I mean,
what are we going against here? What's the record right now?
Yeah.
The record was set 2 years ago by the Warriors, and the second highest is last year's Boston Celtics. Like, these are records that continually broken. Yeah. I do think that we're close to the peak. This is not going to keep going forever. At some point, it doesn't make sense to take more than half of your shots from three. Like a 50-50 split, like even the analytics nerds will tell you that at most like 52 or 53% of your threes coming from three, you're going to see diminishing returns after that. Because the whole point of good 3-point shooting is that it also allows you to get to the basket. But I think there's still a little bit more that bubble can, that furthest range can be pushed. And why not Dallas? They have the best 3-point shot creator in the league. Literally the guy who's created the most threes for his teammates since entering the league. That's Luka. And then you add Quentin Grimes, you add, Klay Thompson, obviously. You add Najee, who I should think is going to be a little bit more reliable. You add Dereck Lively after an entire summer of 3-point shooting. He's going to be bobbing seven, attempts per game. And so, yeah, all of that adds up to.
Wait, you just casually dropped that Lively's dropping 7 threes a game?
I was wondering if I heard that right.
Yeah, 7.
What?
7 makes per game.
Oh, nice, man.
Dude,
We're really
Let's go.
All right, I actually do have a prediction for
Five
later.
spicy-
Once
five
Nick
spicy
allows
ones.
me,
Yeah,
once
real
Nick
fun.
allows me to say my other prediction, I do have a Lively's three. But outside of Lively, like this entire team just is so much better at shooting. They're just objectively a far like twice as good of a shooting team as what we saw against like at least in the finals last year. So yeah, why not? By the way, the number is 1,363 made threes.
Do we know what Dallas did last year?
They were 11th all
tell you in
time.
a
I just
second.
looked it up.
Oh, let's go.
1,363. Last season they did 1,197. So they're gonna need to hit like 500 more threes, which does seem like a lot, but it's not. Like they were winning games. They won a game last season after the trade deadline with 6 made threes against the Warriors. That's like the least Luka thing. You know, like Dallas is on this list of like the top 10 most made threes in a season. They're like past iterations of this team are on this list. It's just last season's team was very uniquely non-3-point shooter-y,
Mm.
which is
I'll
a
give you these numbers.
adjective I just created.
This is an interesting one. I would say 3 on the spice scale, but I like it
Okay.
though.
The more you put the numbers,
Thank
the
you.
less the less spicy it got for me. It seems
Well,
seems probable.
500 more?
It does. And I was looking at it. The Mavs from 2 years ago are 6th all time and made threes in a season. So
Yeah.
like Tim was kind of referencing, it's not that out of the realm of possibility with this type of team with Luka and stuff. It is crazy though when you think of last year's Celtics team, just how incredible of a 3-point shooting team they were. To have to be better than that and then one other team, just that would be incredible.
And the other team was Steph Curry and Klay Thompson together, you know, in the peak of the 3-point revolution. So, but yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, take
Take that for data.
Yeah.
Tim muted.
His mic got unconnected.
I remember my
okay.
first
All right.
teams.
Oh yeah.
Did his first podcast.
He just took us back to 2020.
And replace
Uh-oh.
Wood with Klay Thompson. That's how you go from 6th to 1st.
That's
Sure.
exactly what I was thinking. I will.
Yeah, me too.
Your mic is not correct. Your
All
mic
right.
is not right.
Let me
Oh,
push
I'll fix
back
it.
just for the sake of discussion. Let me push back a little on another side. I do think they're going to take 1,000,000 threes this season, but also I think it's going to provide so much spacing that I think there's going to be so many times a game that Luka's going to get some like shots of the rim to where it just feels like dumb. Like people are going to pull out the Atlanta Hawks, you know, talking points again. Like, oh, look how many layups he got. You know, it's like it's the easiest defense ever because there's so much spacing. And I think the pick and roll stuff with Gafford and Lively is not going to be going anywhere. So I think there's I can see both sides. I think this is a little bit of a spicier take because I still think that they're going to get a ton of stuff at the rim and inside the paint with the bigs, Luka and Kyrie. But
Let's finish with 2 NBA ones because I like these. They're both Spurs related. First one, Isaac. Spurs will have a better record than the Lakers this season.
yeah. Slightly loves this one.
There's
Yeah,
no
so-
way, man.
Slightly's all over this one.
I will say okay.
What?
You go. You make the Spurs argument.
One, they have the best player out of both rosters in Wemby right now.
I don't know if that's true.
I would take Wemby.
crazy.
Wow.
You don't think
Davis
he's
is
a better
long-term,
player than
obviously.
Wembanyama right now? LeBron probably is too.
I would take
Oh,
LeBron
no.
and AD. Just one game. If I had to take one, I'd take both of those.
If
Wemby
it-
can clear
if-
them,
okay,
but
if
he
it's
has not
one-
clearly cleared them yet.
Game on the line. Aliens with the death ray. I'm taking Wembanyama.
Listen, if it's one game, yes, I would take LeBron and AD. But I'm talking about like a season long. Here's my thing with the Spurs is I think they're going to be a little sneaky good. I've also been fully on record on this podcast that I think the Lakers are going to have like there's a whole
Season
Lakers
finale.
thing, but like I think like they're fighting for a play-in spot and all of that. I just don't like a lot of the roster stuff around in a 40-year-old, LeBron and AD. I like adding adults to the room, Like adding a Chris Paul who can actually like guys, we're going from Sohan to Chris Paul running the point guard spot. Like, I mean, that alone is like absolutely insane. And then you got a culture guy like Harrison Barnes. I like a lot of their young guys. I do think Wemby's going to just be absolutely unreal again. So I think he's just going to keep getting better. I love Castle, the rookie. So I just think that with Pop still there too, I don't think that they're adding some of these vets and where Wemby's out already and some of these young guys. I don't think they're adding them to say, yeah, guys, we're going for 16 wins. I think they're going to like push for stuff. And I think they'll have a slightly better record than the Lakers.
So I will say this. I've toned down my Lakers rhetoric quite a bit.
You had the Lakers in like the Western Conference Finals, right?
Yeah. That was like a month ago when we're all bored and just saying things. I don't believe it anymore. When push came to shove and I had to make predictions.
3 hours, no ads, Isaac.
Yes. I just have to throw things at a wall and see what sticks. No, I have toned down quite a bit just because their roster, when you look at it, is really
it's the same.
Yeah, it's tough to imagine. One of my big things with Lakers was I thought that they're going to be desperate. They actually do have some trade pieces. They're going to do something at the deadline. What does it look like? I'm not entirely sure. But
I know what they're going to do.
Trade for Kyrie Irving.
Timberwolves.
No, I think they're going to trade Anthony Davis to the Rockets.
Whoa. Are you serious?
Oh yeah, that was what I was going to say that one for the next show, but yeah, might as well do it. Might as well do it now.
Save it for the next show because I have a Rockets one as well. I have a Rockets.
Yeah.
Okay.
I paired those.
All right.
Wow, I'm actually excited to hear that one. But I just don't think this. I tried to get frisky with the Spurs. I just don't think their roster's ready yet.
I agree. My Spurs related prediction was that Victor Wembanyama does not win Defensive Player of the Year, which normally in a normal year would not be like a super hot take that a second-year player would not win like a league award. But he is the betting favorite on FanDuel right now. Like he has negative odds right now to win Defensive Player of the Year, and I think Bam gets it. I don't think the Spurs are going to be that good. I think that their team is still not very good. I think adding Chris Paul looks really nice, but I don't think he's going to add enough to that team to make them good enough in this West. There's already 10 teams that you go, man.
He is a handsome guy.
If any of those teams miss, and I like Cliff better actually. But yeah, I think Bam Adebayo wins Defensive Player of the Year.
He was second in voting last year, and the Spurs
were
even more butt than.
Yeah,
I can't remember if I.
So are y'all higher?
I think you should have won.
Bad words on your show.
So I guess y'all are just higher on like the Bronny Christian Wood pick and roll.
Yeah, I love that.
What's the guy who's like trying to get young on Twitter? Brian Johnson or whatever his name is?
That guy. Yeah, the guy.
Do you think LeBron is like doing that with Bronny? Just like blood transfusion.
Trying to get Bronny to be young, or
that would be
no. He's using Bronny. That's why they drafted him so that
he's just got to come over and touch him during a game, and it sucks his life force out.
Then again, if you're infusing Bronny's blood, that probably makes you worse at basketball.
Oh, this is getting weird so fast.
Yeah,
I'm glad this part is not on TV.
Yeah.
I was about to make a Bam Adebayo point, but now it's just I don't know where.
Unless it has anything to do with his blood, we don't care.
No, I'm happy you said that, Nick. That was I predicted Bam Adebayo Defensive Player of the Year. He's campaigning. That's what you have to do. You have to cry about it to the media. He's already checked that box. And then I agree with what you said. I think when push comes to shove, and I was thinking the same thing as you, Tim, where it's like he already finished second last year. But when push comes to shove and you're giving out first, like you're saying who's going to win it.
Yeah.
If the Spurs defense is bad, just as a team, then I could see them giving it to Bam.
Bam's girlfriend wins MVP, and he's like, "Oh man, I got to get me one of those." But he's like, "Okay, let's be realistic about it. What can I actually aim for?
We can see Asia campaigning for Bam too, which would be huge, right? The D apostrophe POY.
Ooh, I like that. That's got a nice ring.
There you go. Go listen to Tim Cato on DLLS. Great stuff all the time from that crew. We joke, but they're doing a great job over there. Slightly Biased on the Great Slightly Biased YouTube channel. And it sounded really insincere when I just
it did. That's why I laughed. I'm like, that's the most
we joke around and
we say they're trash, but we really think they are.
There's some good work over there.
But guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us here on Locked On Mavs. We'll be back tomorrow throughout the rest of the week. And we'll be here. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.